I think I'm very lucky that I'm being called to speak at this particular point in time after a very good master of ceremonies has already spoken. And in his speech, or their speech, they have virtually taken care of what I would have been difficult for me as chairman to go through the protocol, because this hall is full of every member who deserves to be mentioned in a very formal way by way of protocol. They have done an excellent job of this. When Dr. Ardo got to me and requested that I should be part of this event, I hesitated for a number of reasons. And by the time he finished talking to me, he gave me no room to escape this particular responsibility. And before he left my house, he requested me to call on some of my seniors or peers in years past to persuade them and to urge them to also be present here today. I may mention right here that the former president, General Olusegun Obasanjo, who was, well, a friend, sometimes a quarreling friend, and a peer in some respects, my boss in many other respects, and so on, had been requested to honor this event. And he reminded me that I should call him to make sure that he accepts this invitation. In addition, he also requested me to call another president, former president of the country, in the person of General Babangida, who is also an associate, a friend, and so on for many years. And I did this. When I got to Obasanjo, he was in Addis Ababa, attending, I don't know in what capacity, the OAU summit that was taking place there. And I sent him a text, and he replied immediately. He said, yes, he heard about the invitation, and he also read that Ango Abdullahi is going to be the chairman. And if I can confirm my being chairman of the event, he would like to confirm that he would come, even if we are going to quarrel here. So we are very hopeful that he will show up today, but I understand that something has gone amiss, whether here in Nigeria or somewhere else in some international airports. He's not here. But he has directed that one dignitary should represent him. And you have just heard that the Talba and the people's servant, former governor of Niger State, is here to represent Chief Obasanjo, who should have been here today. We're still hopeful that if indeed the problem is between Lagos and here, he might be able to catch up with us before the end of this event. And you already heard who is going to represent the Madaki of Mina, President Babangida, eminently represented by a very renowned egghead here. So these are the two major personalities that I would have a difficulty in introducing to you, but thank God they're personally not here, but their representatives are here. Well, I asked myself, what role could I play here? Looking back at our history, fortunately, I think I have accumulated the number of years that I could say I saw Nigeria under colonial administration. In fact, I was a returning officer in 1959 federal elections in Zaria. 1959 federal election. I was a returning officer for Sabon Gari Zaria constituency. Where did they pick me up from? From Nigerian College of Arts, Science and Technology, where I and Victor Atta were attending at that time. So you see, after the federal elections came independence in 1960. And by 1961, some of us were lucky to be students in the only university in the country, that is University College Ibadan, only university in the country at the time. And our experience at that time was that our fathers, our elders, used to visit us regularly. The late Prime Minister, with his golden voice, was at various times on the campus of University College Ibadan. The great Dr. nnamdikanu was also readily available anytime the students wanted him for one event or the other. And indeed, since we were in Ibadan, it wasn't difficult for us to reach out to Chief Obafemi Awolowo, the Premier of Western Nigeria at the time, and so many of the ministers, the Metamasules, young peoples, God. I don't know whether it is possible for us to make this event as a marker, a point that a resolution could be made, that enough of our failure is enough, and something else must give way to our failure. We have failed enough, and I think we should now put a mark saying, agree that we have failed enough, we have failed this country enough, and this must stop. Let me give you a small story about my personal experience in Kano. In the last election, I was assigned to go around the country to see as many traditional leaders as possible, my parents. And in the course of my going round, I was also asked to stop and see one of key elders in the country. And this is Alhaji Aminu Dantata in Kano. I was lucky, and to some extent unlucky, when I found him together with quite a number of people, with him. And as soon as I got in there, he had already had a hint of why I was there. And he got up and held my hand and referred to me with my traditional title in Zaria, Magaji Rafin Zazzau, why are you in my house? If you are in my house for this reason, please don't ever come again. He was angry, clearly very, very angry. His anger cuts across, but he was more angry. To be honest with you, he was more angry with the people of the North. Very angry. He said, Ango, the North has failed. And it has failed not only itself, but it has, to some extent, failed Nigeria. And therefore, he as a person is fed up. And he doesn't want any more talks and no action. And therefore, I should not worry seeing him anymore on the subject until there is a forum where we accept responsibility for our failure. He said, until such time when Nigerians agree they have failed themselves. And the part of the country I come from, the North, the Northerners must sit down and accept that they have failed the North. And therefore, they have no reason to complain about anything. And if they want his participation, or they want him to participate in anything in the future, they must sit together and accept responsibility for their failure. Yes, we have failed ourselves. And therefore, we have no reason to complain. Politically, in particular, we have no reason to complain. So until such time, I shouldn't bother talking to him about anything. After all, he's 93, 94 years old. He's just praying for the remaining days and weeks or months to meet his Creator in a form that would be pleasing to the Creator. So you see, this event to me is an opportunity for us to talk to ourselves and to talk to ourselves about our collective failure as a country. Today, we have just had the power failure now. 64 years of being free from a colonial administration. Nigeria, with 220 million people, or more than that, can only generate 4,000 megawatts of electricity. 4,000. What a shame. 4,000 megawatts of electricity is not enough for one big house in another country. For those of us who from time to time go to Saudi Arabia on pilgrimage and so on, I should remind you that the Haram, the Makkah Mosque, uses 18,000 megawatts of electricity daily. 18,000 megawatts. And here, as a country with 220 million or more people, generating 4,000 megawatts of electricity after 64 years of independence. Something is wrong. And it's wrong with everybody, everyone. Everyone is guilty. If we begin to point fingers at, no, I'm not guilty, it is he, or it is they, and so on and so forth, there will be no time when we are going to address these problems together. So, coming back to this book launch, and more importantly, the subject of the launch, or the subject in the book, which is court and politics. Court and politics are Siamese twins. Forgive me, those in the medical profession. Siamese twins. And no surgeons anywhere in the world have been able to separate politics from courts or from the law, constitutions, whatever. But this is the relationship between politics and so on. And in this country, where we're in a hurry to borrow, not only money, but borrow ideas, even if they don't work for us. We, in 1976, some of us are old enough to participate in the transition program to move the country from military after Gowon administration and after the takeover by Murtala and Obasanjo. Constituent Assembly was being set up, and technology. You haven't bought a good one. Some of our elders were there. The Maitama Sules, the Mala Aminu Kanus, and so on were there. Some of us, the very young ones, who were there to learn as well as to participate, were also there. And so right now, and the process started. And we were hoping that it was going to be a liberal discussion in terms of really looking at the country, having gone through the tragedy of 1966 and the tragedy of the Civil War and so on, and our military experience of 9 years under our gentle General Gowon. We are now ready to return to civilian administration. What we expected as a starting point, having gotten together a constituent assembly, was to discuss why the system that was kicked out in 1966 failed us. Was it the system or was it the operators? Or both? These are some of the points that should give us the starting point of our various discussions and so on. But to our surprise, Malam Aminu Kano and Thomas Sule and others who were there to give us the guidance in terms of the debates that will ensue, came back with the story that they have been told that there will be no discussion on parliamentary system of government, and that the decree, or rather the directive given to those who are managing the process, is that there will be no discussion on parliamentary, rather they should go and search for a presidential system. And at that time, the two options were available: the French model and the American model. And we cried out, but we didn't succeed in getting the leadership at that time to change their minds. I remember my classmate and friend who died with this issue of parliamentary, Ibrahim Talba, and the personal assistant to Sardauna from Kogi. Somebody should remind me his name. His personal. No, it's not Awoni. Awoni was in the office of the Sudan. Anyway, they died with the idea of parliamentary system. They tried everything for this country to look at the issues reasonably well, to understand why the system we threw out without giving it a chance would not be discussed again. And there it is today. Yes, thank you. 5 years we tried parliamentary from 1968 to 1965. To some extent, 66. And now we have been trying presidential system for 24 years. 24 years. And the failure is so glaring. And as a former teacher, Dakas, forgive me, being current teacher, are you marking A1, A2, and so on? I'll mark my father's A1, A+, and the current leaderships and so on in recent years, F9, F9, F9. So you see, this book, which carries the subject that is core to any practice called democracy, has to do with politics and law. And this is the subject in this book, which is being presented to the public today. And it gives an opportunity not just to the lawyers, to the practical politicians, to everybody, to the voters. Everyone is involved in looking at what is in there and why we need to really seriously look at not only the subject in the book, but its application, which has failed us over the years. The last speaker has spoken. He is quite direct, and he's also courageous in admitting that a lot of things are wrong, not only in the political process that eventually lead us to find leaders or to find rulers, as the case may be, because there are differences between rulers and leaders. And in the case of our law courts, there is no need for me to say anymore. You will all see it by all experience that some of you may have had. I had my own experience. I won an election, governorship election in Kaduna State. I'm sure General Agwai will remember that. But I was told that in one tribunal or the other, I lost to the loser. So you see, I'm sorry if I'm taking too much time, but my appeal here is that after launching this book and given the opportunity this launching has brought about leaders, not just people, but leaders, the time has come for us to really go back to the drawing board. That is my last word. Go back to the drawing board so that this country can be saved. Thank you very much.